Are the Wisconsin Badgers on upset alert tonight when they face off against the Montana State Bobcats? I think they might be, because this Bobcats offense excels at the one thing this Wisconsin Badgers defense might not be very good at defending. Let's get into it this afternoon, this evening. Good evening, and thank you for enjoying it with a six-pack, the Sconnie Six Pack, the only podcast talking all things Wisconsin sports at just 6 days a week. I'm your host, Kedrick Stumbris. You can find me on the website formerly known as Twitter, also on Blue Sky, at Kedrick Stumbris, and follow the podcast at Sconnie Six Pack for the latest updates in Wisconsin sports. I am minutes away from leaving my home in Milwaukee to go travel to the Kohl Center for tonight's game, but I wanted to get in here quickly to discuss this matchup because I think there are a couple of takeaways from what I found looking at Montana State's roster, the way Matt Logie has rebuilt that Bobcats squad after an offseason in which he lost two very important players, and then some illuminating comments from Greg Gard this week on his weekly radio show that I think tell us a lot about what this Wisconsin Badgers basketball team is going to look like this year and why it's going to look different than in years past. But I want to start with tonight's game first and foremost, which tips off at 7 p.m. inside the Kohl Center. You can watch it on Big Ten Plus. If you do not have a Big Ten Plus subscription, first of all, it might be worth it. You got two more games after tonight, so 3 total. Yes, no, one more after tonight, so 2 total. Where the Wisconsin Badgers are going to play on Big Ten Plus this season. Might be worth $13 to you. Understand if it's not. If it is not, you can find me on the website formerly known as Twitter or on Blue Sky at Kedrick Stumbris covering the game for some live updates, some live takeaways. But look, Montana State does one thing really, really, really well. Not just one thing, but one thing really, really well that the Badgers don't defend well. And that is shoot the three ball. They take a lot of threes. They make a lot of threes. Montana State, look, I think a lot of people are going to look at it and say, oh, this is a mid-major NCAA tournament team last year. It wasn't really. They went on a run late and won the Big Sky Conference tournament as a very, very low seed and played in the 16 seed play-in game and lost that to Grambling State. But really what this Montana State offense is one that shoots the three at a very high volume and at a very high clip successfully. Last year, Montana State ranked 26th nationally in 3-point percentage. That's at 37% as a team, and 35th in 3-pointers per game at 9.1% of their total field goal attempts. They shot 41.7 of them from beyond the arc, 41.7% of them from beyond the arc. That's a very high clip compared to the national average that ranked 66th nationally a year ago. Now, the big takeaway from that roster is that they lost their two best 3-point shooters off of that roster. Robert Ford to graduation, who shot the ball at a 42.7% clip himself on 171 attempts, and then also lost Eddie Turner to graduation, 38.4% shooting with 73 on the season. That made up their backcourt, and they lost those two guys, but replaced them with really high level shooting talent. Behind them, they also had Brian Gorky, who shot 166 attempts from three last year and shot them at a 36.1% clip. And he is incredibly talented and is a preseason selection in the Big Sky Conference to make that all-conference team. Additionally, they backed up that 3-point shooting with one of the best 3-point shooters in the Pac-12 last year. That would be Jabe Mullins, the graduate transfer from Washington State, using his last year of collegiate eligibility. He played at Washington State. He played at St. Mary's, and those are two teams where you have to excel at shooting the three. And also at St. Mary's, you really have to excel at playing defense too. That's impressive considering that he shot 43.8% from beyond the arc in the Pac-12 last year, averaging 8.4 points per game in 2022, 2023. And look, he played less at Washington State than he did at St. Mary's. And so I think this is going to be a level of basketball where he's going to come in and really excel, especially compared to him taking up some minutes for St. Mary's in the WCC in the past. When you combine all of that with All Big Sky forward, Brandon Walker, an All Big Sky selection a season ago, a preseason All Big Sky selection coming into this season, there is some real chance. You combine that alongside with Tyler Patterson, another graduate guard, and you have a big presence in the front court with 6'7", 225, 230 pound Brandon Walker, a stout man up there in the front court, and you've surrounded him with a whole lot of shooting. Tyler Patterson, who of course I also mentioned, he shot the three ball at a 37.8% clip last year. He shot 172 attempts overall. That's really impressive, and I think there's a predictable script for how Wisconsin loses this game when you combine all of that together. This is a team that I don't think is going to beat itself. And it's a veteran team. For all there is to say about college basketball teams needing some time to gel together and come together in a world where there's some roster movement, some roster attrition, there are 9 players on this Montana State roster, 9 that have played 4 years or more of college basketball. That's a lot. That's a full rotation. When you take into account on top of that there are 5 players in their projected rotation that have over 100 games, at least 102 games actually, in college basketball experience, that's a lot. That's a lot. And Tyler Patterson, one of those other shooters, another preseason All Big Sky selection, like I mentioned, or sorry, he was not a preseason All Big Sky selection, but he started 117 games at Montana State, which is the most of any active player at one school in the country. This is an old team. This is an experienced team. This is a team that shoots the three really well, and that should be a concern for Wisconsin that has not shown an ability to defend the 3-point ball over the last year, the last calendar year. We talked about that a little bit on our previous show and how there were some signs of concern about that coming out of that Holy Cross game, especially given the fact that Wisconsin gave up some significant shooting numbers to Holy Cross's Gabe Warren, who did not show a penchant for shooting the 3-point ball a season ago. And we saw the same kind of thing against Robert Morris last season in another one of these mid-major matchups where Robert Morris, not a team that shot the ball from deep very well, but came in against Wisconsin and did shoot the ball from deep very well. So when all of a sudden you find yourself matched up against a team like Nebraska, for instance, that does shoot the ball from deep well, that can be a disaster for you, even when you're up big in the second half. That's kind of how Wisconsin loses this game here. Now, Wisconsin can win this, and I think is fairly favored in this because they are bigger up front in the front court, and they need guys like Steven Crowell to show up. They need guys like Nolan Winter to show up, who I think we neglected to really talk about in the previous show. I say we as if there's anybody else here but me, because he had 15 points in his debut as a starter. His first career start and a career high 15 points. He really turned it on in the second half of that game, and I thought was really impressive. Wisconsin's going to need guys like that to show up because Montana State just doesn't have big guys like that. Wisconsin's going to need to win through their front court, I think, in this one, which is maybe good, maybe bad, considering all that Greg Gard wants to do and change his offense a little bit. And I want to get into that now in the second half of the show, which is Greg Gard changing his offense a little bit and his emphasis on what he called in his weekly radio show with Matt LePay a couple days ago, 30-30 games. 30-30 games, meaning their goal every game is to shoot 33s attempts and shoot 30 free throws That's a lot. That's a lot of free throws in particular. In modern day college basketball, you can hit that 33-point mark with, I don't want to say ease, but it can be done in relatively undifficult fashion, I guess. Um, but it's a different look for Wisconsin that for so long has played through the post. Over the last 3 seasons, Wisconsin has shot 30 3-point attempts only twice in games that did not go to overtime. Only twice in the last 3 seasons. They did not do so once last season. When it comes to 30 free throw attempts, Wisconsin did that 4 times last season, which is a lot. Is a lot. And that's kind of the high water mark. And so I'm not taking as gospel from Greg Gard that if they don't shoot 33s and shoot 30 free throws, that it looks like a bad game for that offense. But I think that is the peak version of what they envision this Badgers offense being, is one that drives the lane, posts up, and shoots threes. And that's it. No mid-range twos. Greg Gard's been very, very adamant about understanding that those are bad shots. He has mentioned that several times in the preseason. And I think Wisconsin is lucky to have a guy like John Tonje on its roster. When we saw what he did against Holy Cross, where he shot very well from deep, Tonje shot 3 of 6 from beyond the arc and shot 8 free throws. Got to the line 4 times, hit all 8 shots. Similarly, you have a guy like John Blackwell, who was 3 of 6 from deep himself. Sorry, John Tonje was 2 of 4 from deep. Sorry, 3 of 6 from the field, and 4 of 4 on free throw attempts for John Blackwell. Those are guys that it makes a lot of sense that you want those 2 guys on the wing. When you put John Blackwell's season-long numbers into it from a season ago, shooting 45.5% on 66 attempts. Of course, he came off the bench for almost all of last season and saw more minutes in the rotation later on in the year. So those 66 attempts are definitely deflated compared to what they're going to be from 3 this upcoming year. But he led the team overall in free throw rate, apart from Carter Gilmore, whose usage, of course, was incredibly low. But he led the team in free throw rate. He led the team in fouls drawn per 40 compared to everybody who's still on the roster. AJ Storr being the only one to have a little bit of a leg up on John Blackwell in that category. AJ Storr drawing 5.2 fouls per 40 last year. John Blackwell drawing 4.9 per 40 last year. So those 2 guys combined, if they have the kind of season that either we've seen John Blackwell have the flashes and potential to based on what we saw from him a year ago, or John Tonje based on kind of what we know about his game and what we saw from his game against Holy Cross, Wisconsin's going to have a chance to hit these 30-30 marks. And when you add in a Nolan Winter, who should be able to push his new weight around and presumably get to the free throw line with that new weight, that's going to help you get there. That's going to help you really get there. A Max Klesmit, who is unafraid to shoot, despite the fact that he has not had a hot shooting start to the season. You're going to get there. And I think that's also why we see Kamari McGee playing the role that he does at point guard. I think it's part of the reason why the staff wanted to bring in Cam Hunter, because one of the things that he does with his game is drive to the hoop and draw some of those fouls. It's something that his game is a little bit different from Chucky Hepburn's in that sense. And although Cam Hunter, it doesn't appear, is going to play a huge role this season for Wisconsin, I could be wrong. But it's why Kamari McGee, I think, makes a ton of sense on this team, because that energy, that spark that he brings, it goes a long way. And he does really have an unappreciated ability to get to the free throw line. He had a free throw rate last season of 51.4. That is just below John Blackwell's of 51.6. He when Kamari McGee is on the floor, he does shoot a lot of free throws when he is getting to the hoop. it's something that makes a lot of sense, especially considering that, no, his 3-point shooting numbers aren't fantastic, but when he's on the floor, it makes a big difference. Another nugget that we got from Greg Gard out of his weekly radio show this week was that when Kamari McGee was on the floor against Holy Cross, Wisconsin was averaging 1.57 points per possession. Those are huge numbers. Huge. They really like what he brings. And it's why I think there is a really good chance that he finds his way into the starting lineup. I of course, made the case for why that maybe should be and who should be the new sixth man off the bench. I made that case in the previous show. You can go and find that. And if Wisconsin is going to hit these 30-30 marks, he's going to be a big part of why. John Tonje is going to be a big part of why. John Blackwell is going to be a big part of why. And so tonight against Montana State, you certainly hope Montana State doesn't hit a 30-30 mark, although I'm sure that they're going to hit 30 3-point attempts. You got to be better on picking up these shooters on the weak side. And you need Stephen Crowell to show up. You need Nolan Winter to show up. I joked in a group chat with some guys earlier today that no, neither of those guys are Ryan Kalkbrenner, who got 49 points and shot 20 of 22 from the field against the University of Texas Rio Grande Valley last night. Ryan Kalkbrenner of Creighton, UTRGV, an upcoming opponent in Wisconsin. Neither Nolan Winter or Stephen Crowell are Ryan Kalkbrenner, but maybe the two of them combined can recreate him in the aggregate. So something like that, a performance like that, it is going to go a really, really, really long way, making sure Wisconsin comes in and covers this tonight. If you want to find more details on my prediction for tonight's game, including my official pick, that is up over on athlonsports.com right now. You can find that under All Badgers, the College Basketball Wisconsin Badgers site. Go find it, as well as the predictions from our other staff members over with Athlon Sports covering the Wisconsin Badgers. We'll see what happens tonight at the Kohl Center. Should be an excellent, really fun game. If you want more details, more coverage from me, you can either find me at Sconnie Six Pack, sconniesixpack.substack.com, on the website formerly known as Twitter at Kedrick Stumbris, also on Blue Sky, same handle. And so we talk to you all again very soon. Hopefully going to be able to do a little bit of a live instant reaction from the Kohl Center tonight. So we talk to you all again very soon on Wisconsin.